Hello and welcome back to Rev Real Estate School. I'm your host, Michael Montgomery, and today we're talking about what you need to know if you are a new real estate agent. And sadly, our industry has been lying to us. When it comes to being a new real estate agent, there is a lot that we need to know and there's a lot that we need to understand. So today we're going to unpack some of these misconceptions that we've all heard or that we're actually part of right now and what we can do about them. So first off, when it comes to selling real estate, we have to think about the public perception. And the reason for that is once we get into the industry, we have this image in our mind of what it's like to be a real estate agent. Now, where does that come from? Usually it's going to come from TV. It's going to come from HGTV or Selling Sunset. And all of us know that that is not the way that real estate is actually done. People don't tend to look at 3 homes and then choose one, submit an offer, and it's immediately accepted. That is not necessarily the case. And then when it comes to these gigantic commissions that we see, oftentimes those numbers are the full commission amount. So we're not necessarily talking about the amount that we're sharing with a buyer's brokerage. And we're not talking about how difficult it was to get the client in the first place. So a good comparison to this, of course, would be looking at other TV shows out there, like being a doctor isn't like House or being a lawyer isn't like Suits. These professions actually operate quite a bit differently than what we see on TV, if not completely opposite in many ways. So that's the first thing that we need to understand is our perception coming into this industry isn't in fact the reality. And it's like that for pretty well any industry. If we think about what it's like to be X career, we're usually wrong unless we've done that or unless we've spoken to somebody who has walked a mile in those shoes. And interestingly enough, in speaking to a lot of new agents, oftentimes what I hear about why they got into the industry is because they want to make a lot of money and they want to make their own schedule. However, the truth of this, as many of us know, is that when we start, we're not going to make a lot of money. And our schedule is going to be dictated by our clients. And so we're coming into this industry and we think we're going to be able to make a ton of money and we're going to dictate our own schedule. And yes, it can be a lucrative career. And yes, we can create our own schedules. But that being said, that may not be what it looks like in your first year. In fact, it probably won't. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. In many ways, we don't necessarily want to go out there and sell a ton of real estate in our first year, which sounds backwards. But in fact, we have so much to learn. There is so many unknown unknowns. So we don't know what we don't know yet. And if we go out there and we end up selling at a high level, there's a good chance that we could make some mistakes. And so as we're growing in our career, and if you're in your first, second, third, fourth, fifth year, and you're learning and you're growing, that is extremely valuable time as well. Yes, it's important to make money, but it's extremely important to also be learning and improving our skill set as real estate agents. So this moves us into getting our license. So when we get our real estate license, we think to ourselves that we are ready to go out there and sell real estate. We have a piece of paper that indicates that we are legally able to sell real estate. And that is true. We are legally able to sell real estate. However, we do not know what we're doing yet, and that is okay. In fact, in many ways, the industry and kind of the model that's been built doesn't necessarily support new agents the way that it should. Think again about a doctor or a lawyer. A doctor has to be a resident. A lawyer has to article for a number of years. It's not like a doctor comes out of med school and then starts operating on you. And in real estate, it's quite a bit different because we get this piece of paper and we think, okay, now we're ready to go and sell real estate. However, we have to take the onus onto ourselves. Just like a doctor has to go through residency, we as agents have to go through our learning period. And that is not dictated by the industry. Instead, we need to take a step back. We need to understand that we are going to go through years of learning. And if we start to look at our first few years like that, that's going to change the trajectory of where we're going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, what does this mean to you? Well, it means we need to drop the notion of making a ton of money our first year. Instead, what we need to focus on is we need to focus on learning and growing our database. Now, that being said, if we do a few deals, we make some money, that's great. That's a bonus. It's just like a resident or somebody articling or somebody in the trades who's apprenticing. They're not going to make the same amount of money as the specialist, as the individual who has actually gone through this and is training them. And as such, we should be in the same mindset. As a new agent, we're not necessarily going to make the same amount of money that we're going to make in the next 5-10 years. It's going to go up dramatically from there. However, we have to take a step back and understand that these first few years are for learning and for growing our database and increasing our conversations. So this leads us into our next one, and it's that actually selling the house is doing the work of real estate. Yes, that is a component of it, but 80% of the work is already done, which is getting the lead. So in real estate, the actual sale of the home or helping the buyer is extremely important. It's an extremely important part of the process. It's like most of what we think we do. However, one of the biggest things that we do is we have to get that individual into our network in the first place. What we think when we come into the industry is that selling the home is the work. And yes, it's part of it, but 80% of the work is getting the individual in the first place. So if we change our mindset away from how do I just sell more homes to how do I get more people into my database, how do I get to know more people, then from there, the actual transactions will begin to flow. But if we focus just on trying to sell homes, then we're going to miss this whole opportunity of growing our database. And then eventually these people, of course, will buy and sell. So if you think about this, if 80% of the work is getting the lead, then let's say you're on a team and you're on a 50-50 split and you didn't actually have to go out and get the lead was given to you. In many ways, that can feel like a deal, let alone an agent referral. It's coming in from another state or another province or another city. You could end up be paying a 25% referral, which again is a huge steal because the lead was already handed to you. So when a lead is handed to you, that lead and getting the lead is where the work really is. Yes, there's a ton of work and care that goes into the transaction. That's extremely important, but we also cannot forget about what it took to get the lead there in the first place. So what does this mean to you? Well, if it all comes down to generating leads and then of course taking care of them, but the generating lead side, then we need to understand marketing. We need to do the work necessary in order to understand marketing, both online, but also in person. Now, when it comes to in-person, it comes to growing our network and understanding how to communicate better. Yes, these are soft skills, but wildly important in real estate. So understanding marketing, both in person and online, as well as our communication, is really going to help us through this. Next, we have this misconception that real estate agents show homes. Now, all of us that have been in the industry for a while, I'm sure we've had those clients that have said, oh, your job must be fantastic. You get to show homes or you get to look at homes all day. Now, any of us who have been in the industry know that that's not what we do. Yes, that's a component of what we do, but that's not what we do throughout the day. Most real estate agents, what they're focused on are generating leads and taking care of the leads that they currently have. We need to understand that yes, the real estate transaction is part of it, but we're coming back to this concept that lead generation is really where it's at. So if we are a new real estate agent, we need to understand that we need to go through an apprenticeship period just like any other industry. However, we have to put the onus on ourselves to go through that because we're starting a business. And just like if you were going to start any business out there, you would not expect to turn a huge profit in year one. Instead, what you'd expect is to learn, understand the industry, and then turn a big profit once you move into year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and beyond. So with all of that being said, if you're in this new stage, what we really need to be focused on is, of course, learning and lead generation. But when it comes to lead generation, how do we actually do this? We actually do this by increasing the number of people that we're talking to, whether that be online, whether that be in person, text, email. Really what we need to do is increase the number of conversations that we're having because we need to be thinking more top of funnel versus bottom of funnel. When in the bottom of the funnel, they're ready to buy and sell. However, top of funnel is where the people are going to come in. So the more that we can focus on that as new agents and grow that top of funnel, the more that bottom of funnel is going to pay off for us down the road. Thank you very much for watching or listening to this episode. Remember, you can reach out anytime at revrealestateschool.com or I'm on Instagram at the.michael.montgomery. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next lesson.